Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show. Hello, welcome in. What's going on, everybody? Jesse Montano here. Avs in Dallas, 5-3 is the final. They dropped this one. A weird game overall for me, and that's just super on par. I've always talked about the fact that Avs Stars games are just weird stuff happens. It's weird final scores. It's comebacks one way or the other. Just games with Dallas, playoff series between Colorado and Dallas are always just a little bit off. And this one I felt like was par for the course. So we're going to talk about all of that from a decent start for the Avs. Things get away from them a little bit there in the middle frame. And then a great third period from them, at least from an effort standpoint. So we'll talk about all of that. We're going to talk about some of the big takeaways from tonight, including Josh Manson. We'll hopefully get an update from Jared Bednar after the game. Talk about what we saw from Georgiev. Talk about Mikko Rantanen as new reports, new rumors of what he's asking for on a contract are available. We'll get into all of that. And then we will open up the last segment of the show today for questions. We put the call out on Twitter. So get your guys' questions in. We'll be checking in on all of that, answering as many as we can in the last segment of today's show. I hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. We normally would do a show earlier today, but we knew that we would be going live here. So we've got this. Megan's back in town, or she's arriving back in town like right now. So she'll be back doing content tomorrow. We'll be at the game. Obviously, no morning skate for the Avs. We'll be back tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Mountain Time puck drop, Colorado Avalanche, Edmonton Oilers. So both of us will be there for that. So hopefully you guys had a good Thanksgiving. Let's get into this one a little bit. Like I said, a decent start for the Avs. In fact, you could maybe even go as far as say they controlled the first handful of minutes there. Running up some shots, getting some good possession time. And again, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't the Avs, coming out and running away with things early, but it was a stronger push out of the gates than what we've seen at different times this season, which I really do think, again, we've been talking about it a lot these last couple weeks. I think that's one of the things that's been plaguing this team in the early parts of this season is the fact that they're not starting games on time. Cale Makar, when we were in Tampa, the game against Tampa, Cale Makar used the phrase, "Our brains weren't turned on." Jared Bednar echoed those sentiments as well. And it's just felt like there's been too many times where it's taken them too long to get into the game. I didn't feel like that was the case here tonight. I thought they looked sharp. I thought their legs were going. And again, not everything was perfect, but you liked generally what you were seeing out of them in the early going. But a lot of this game, the story of a lot of this game was penalty trouble. The Avs could not keep themselves out of the box. And that's what led to the first goal against. Really nice play, really nice pass from Mason Marchment to find Tyler Seguin on the back door. Really kind of got everyone moving to the right and then dumped it off with kind of a no-look pass back to his left for Seguin. And so that gets things going for the Stars. Power play goal. But again, I didn't feel like the Avs were overly deterred by that. It didn't feel like that got them off the rails. Again, like we've seen at times for them in the early goings here, where an early goal against things starting to slide against them or things not going their way can knock them out of their rhythm and can kind of lead to things getting away quickly. Didn't feel like that was the case. In fact, Val Nichushkin responds back just a few minutes later on an Avs power play of their own. We can pause right here to talk about Val Nichushkin. So a couple nights ago, sorry, this is the back-to-back, trying to keep all my days straight here. A couple nights ago, Val Nichushkin's the lone goal scorer for the Avs in regulation, then the only player between both teams to score a goal in the shootout. Jared Bednar even admitted after the game 2 nights ago on Wednesday that, yeah, Val, he's been slowly getting back to where he was. There was a few times Jared Bednar talked to us after games, things like that, and saying, no, I think he looks just as good. He looks like old Val, but did admit to us last night, yeah, this feels like he's getting back to where we want him to be, to where we've seen him. And it's that dominance down low. It's that control he's got around the net. It's how difficult he is to play against along the wall. That's the part for Val Nichushkin that is unique to him, that when we sit back and look at the type of player he is and what he brings to this group, that's the stuff that, we've heard Jared Bednar use the term before. He's a unicorn. Val Nichushkin's a unicorn. There are not a lot of players who are that big, who can skate that fast and that well and have the hands around the net. He's just a handful in and around the net, especially on that power play. He gets moved to the top unit in the last game at home against Vegas, stays there tonight, and that's where he goes. Great shot from Mikko Rantanen, gets by Jake Ottinger, hits the post, but is able to track it down, actually knocks the puck out of the air to keep it going back towards the net and just creating havoc. Val Nichushkin in behind the defender, in behind Jake Ottinger, and actually finds that puck squeaking through the 5-hole and just dunks it home. That's one of the many reasons Val Nichushkin is just so difficult to play against. When Gabe Landeskog went out of the lineup, the one thing that everyone said, no matter what, you can't replace Gabe Landeskog, especially not there in front of the net. Val Nichushkin has done a great job of filling that void as best as possible. Maybe he doesn't have that same dynamic puck tipping ability that Gabe Landeskog's got, but just so dangerous around the net and just gives the Avs a different element down low that they otherwise don't have. It's part of the reason why he's so important to this group, and part of the reason why so much of the conversation around Val Nichushkin over this summer was, not only do they not have a choice, there's not really much else they could do. He's such a good player. He's such a valuable asset to them when he's in the game. He's going to come back to the NHL. Why let another team reap those rewards? So Val Nichushkin, again, showing his value there, showing his worth in different ways, but again, contributing. Only goal scorer for the Avs in the last game, only shootout scorer between either team in the last game, and then comes out tonight, gets the Avs going offensively, and really I thought was part of just a nice pushback for the Avs after giving up that first goal. Dallas gets one late to take a lead into the intermission, and that was the part that I think maybe if you're the Avs was just a little bit of a bummer. It felt like you had played a good first period, and it was a little bit disappointing to see them have to go into the intermission. Go into the intermission chasing. Again, even though it wasn't bad, you're down by 1 goal. You feel like you did some good things. Felt like they deserved a little bit of better fate, but either way, you go down 2-1. We've seen, especially recently in these last 10-ish games, 10 plus games, the Avs have been able to go into those intermissions and really kind of reset and come back out with a renewed sense of energy. It was part of what made Tampa Bay so disappointing, was that it felt like the Avs, okay, you got waxed there in the first period. It was 5-1. And not that I was expecting the Avs to come out and suddenly turn that game around and win in Tampa, but you expected them to come out with a little bit more fire and at least maybe, get a goal, maybe make 2, make it 5-3, make something interesting. And it was when they didn't do that is part of what made that game such a disappointment against the Lightning. So again, you're like, well, they're going to get to settle down, come out here. We'll see what they can do in the second. And I'm going to stop just shy of saying that they were bad in the second period. Definitely underwhelming in the second frame there. Details weren't as sharp. You guys know me. I'm never one to question the how hard are they trying. I know these guys are all working hard, but it just didn't seem as crisp. It just didn't seem as urgent to me in the second period. Again, some kind of loosey-goosey penalties that just, even though not all of them cost the Avs on the scoreboard, you're spending a lot of time in your zone. You're defending. You're not getting the guys out there on shifts that you want. You're like I said, you're defending more than you want to, and it just the opposite effect for the Dallas Stars, right? Getting to play with that puck on their stick, getting to snap it around offensively. This is a team that maybe doesn't have quite the high-end elite offensive talent that the Avs have, but Matt Duchene having a very good year. Tyler Seguin having an outstanding first 19 games of his season. We saw Jamie Benn turn the clock back last year. Mason Marchment, who had a nice impact tonight. Again, just these are players that if you're going to give them too many opportunities, you're going to give them chances to establish their rhythm in the offensive zone. Yeah, they're going to burn you at a certain point. So it just wasn't what you wanted to see from the Avs in a follow-up to a first period that I actually thought, again, not only would you say, all right, we'll take it, it's just a one-goal deficit, but I felt like there was even a lot of good things to build on. So suddenly things go from just a 2-1 game to things start to run away from them just a little bit, and you find yourself down 4-1, a power play goal and an even strength goal for the Dallas Stars in the second period. And you go into the third, and it's 4-1. It feels maybe a little bit out of reach, but you say, all right, you got to come out early and try to get one, cut this deficit to something a little bit more manageable. You get it down to 2. Well, now you're within goalie pull territory. Can you get one? You only need a few minutes. Well, suddenly Avs score early. I believe it was in the first 4 minutes of the second period. And then are able to follow that up not much long later with an unbelievable play from Cale Makar coming through the neutral zone, going from literally one side of the offensive zone to the other, and then finding Mikko Rantanen across the ice on a beautiful pass. Great shot from Mikko Rantanen. Suddenly it's 4-3, and the Avs were kind of vibing a little bit. And you had a big play from Cale Makar, a big goal from Mikko Rantanen, and you just feel good. Nathan McKinnon had picked up an assist on an Arturi Lehkonen goal just before that. So your big guns are going, and suddenly you can feel a little bit of momentum. The Avs go on the power play, and then it just felt like they struggled to generate anything overly dangerous. They looked like a different team for a large portion of that third period, but again, just it really didn't feel like in that last 10 minutes there when they were within one goal, they were imminently pressing. Jake Ottinger had to make a nice save here or there. Mikko Rantanen on that power play had a chance that just kind of ramped up off his stick. Looked like someone maybe got a defensive stick on it as well. Just not what you wanted to see. Give credit to the Dallas Stars. We saw last year in the playoffs, they are able to kind of clamp things down there defensively when they want to. So it was disappointing last 10 minutes for the Avs. I thought you liked the pushback a little bit here. And now you got to turn the page. You got to take some of the positives out of this game, which I definitely thought there were some. We're going to talk about Georgiev here in a minute. I maybe didn't think he was quite as bad tonight. I didn't think he was necessarily the problem. We're going to talk about some of the things to take out of this game, like I said, including Josh Manson. But overall, some positives to take out of it, but it just seems to be a little bit of the same story where a portion of the game where they fall asleep and just lose the crispness in those details seems like it costs them the game far too often. Got a super chat here from Drew. Big thanks to Drew for always, you guys are always just coming in great, always tuning in, always supporting us. One of the best ways to support us here. From Drew, every game should be watched afterwards and fines handed out for embellishment. The more you get, the higher the fine. This isn't soccer or basketball. Refs are cowards. Effing embarrassing. So Drew is likely referring to the high stick from Devon Taves on Mason Marchment. And yeah, Mason Marchment in real time threw his head back, very exaggerated. And yes, when you went back and looked at it after, it looked like if the stick caught him at all, it was a very light graze on the outside of his helmet, nowhere near Marchment's face, nose, mouth area. And it leads to a power play that the Dallas Stars are able to capitalize on. So, it's disappointing because you have the rule in place now where if it's called a 4-minute double minor, they can review to make sure that it was, in fact, a high stick. But you can't do it on just a standard minor. Look, this is something that I've talked about before too, that there should be the penalties that are that are objective. Did you high stick him or didn't you? Did your stick hit him in the face? That's a yes or no. There's no gray, or there's no room for, was it hooking? Was it not? Was it a trip? There's no room for interpretation. Did your stick hit him or did it not? Delay game, same thing. Did the puck clearly go out without touching anything, or did it not? They're yes or no questions. I felt like that's something that if any of the refs or linesmen feel that it warrants a second look just to make sure that he did actually get him with the high stick on a penalty call that, again, is a yes or no, I would be in favor of that. You guys also know me. I don't get why we don't have officials made available after the games to answer some questions, not to tell them they're wrong, but to say, what did you guys see? Why was that called the way that it was? Why was that the decision made? If you see it now, if you had the opportunity, would you make that call again? That's it. That's all we're looking for. Thank you, Drew. And then, of course, our guy, Vaguely Sober, always in here with the Super Chats. Great supporter. Time to rebrand your team. The Colorado injuries. Oh, we're going to get into it. The injuries just keep piling up for the Avs here. We're going to talk about Josh Manson, as well as we'll talk a little bit about Miles Wood, who is now on the IR. It's why the Avs had to recall Chris Wagner going into tonight. So every time they feel like they're getting healthy, every time it feels like they are rounding an injury bug corner, you got something else that comes up. So, like I said, we're going to talk about it. And you hope Josh Manson, I don't like the injury. I don't like the way it looked. Don't like the way he reacted and the immediacy at which he skated off from what was an awkward-looking injury. We're going to talk about all that right now. But first, I do want to remind you guys about our great partners here at Trusted American Mortgage. How would you like to get through the holidays without having to make your mortgage payment? Well, go to trustedamerican.com to see how they can help you refinance your home and not have to make any payments until February 2025. Trusted American salary-based mortgage consultants want to help you get into a lower rate and help lower your monthly payments. And right now, they will cover the cost of your appraisal. That's already about a $650 value of savings right there. Go to trustedamerican.com or scan the QR code right here on the screen. See how much they can save you today. Josh Manson does go out of this game with an upper body injury, does not return. He went awkwardly into the boards with someone checking him from behind. He went in, and it looked to me like his hand or wrist got jammed either straight back like this or down like that. He reacted right away, tossed his glove off, stayed in the play as it was immediately around him, but then went straight to the bench, straight down the tunnel, did not return. That was midway through the second period. Miles Wood had an awkward collision a couple nights ago. I also tweeted out, I felt like in the game a couple nights ago against Vegas, I watched Miles Wood get in on a forecheck. Let's see. Part of the way through the first period. I had to remember which side of the rink they were skating on. Part of the way through the first period. And he looked to me just like he was skating with a little bit of like a limp. And I said, well, we've heard that he's not 100%. He's playing through some stuff. I wonder if that's what's ailing him. So not only did I see that going on, but then he has that awkward collision with the wall later on, and he was slow to get up and kind of slow to make his way to the bench. And again, you especially guys like Miles Wood, Jonathan Drouin, you feel for it because they're trying to get back. They finally worked their way back into the lineup, and then you have something like this happen where now both of them are right back out. So Miles Wood, I think, is still working through something and then got injured even further after an awkward collision with the wall. This one, Josh Manson, this has actually been a pretty good start to the season for him health-wise. It looks like a really awkward collision, and I don't like the way he reacts that quickly. You know, we see guys, even in instances where it ends up taking them out of the game, it hurts. They try to shake it off. They try to play a shift with it. They go out there, move a certain way, and say, no, I can't play through this. For Manson to react the way he did and leave as quickly as he did has to be just a little bit concerning in terms of what we can expect from a diagnosis standpoint. Now, I'm not going to even come close to trying to guess on anything like this. We've seen injuries that look like they're going to be really bad and they end up being just literally day to day. We've seen some that look like they're not anything. Ross Colton, Jonathan Drouin both come back into those games at certain points and then end up missing significant time. But yes, Josh Manson does go out with another injury. So, the Avs have carried extra defensemen. So thankfully on the defensive side, keep in mind, Oliver Shillington also missed tonight's game with an injury. But right now, if Josh Manson does have to come out, you've still got John Ludwig that you can plug in, who I actually have advocated at times this year has maybe led the way among those three defensemen between Ludwig, DeHaan, and Shillington. Now, Oliver Shillington playing his best hockey that we've seen since he got here in camp. Right now, it's definitely unfortunate timing for him to also go out. But the Avs do still have an extra defenseman if you're needing a replacement for Josh Manson going into tomorrow. That's the other part about this that's tough when it comes to talking about injuries for a guy like this. Even if it is something minor and you just need a couple days to take off and let it rest and recover, well, Josh Manson doesn't really get that. The Avs are right back at it tomorrow, 8 o'clock start. There'll be no morning skate for either team. Edmonton playing tonight in Utah, so no morning skate for either team. But Josh Manson would have to be ready by 8 p.m. Mountain Time tomorrow. My gut feeling says you can probably expect John Ludwig to draw in tomorrow. Calvin DeHaan drew in tonight in favor of Oliver Shillington, who, like I said, also out with an injury. So the Avs are right back to missing several players in their top nine. And now for the first time, it looks like that injury bug is starting to creep in to the blue line as well. The one part of this Avs team that has actually remained relatively healthy. So we're going to keep an eye on that going into tomorrow. We'll see what information we get ahead of puck drop, which, again, no morning skate. Alexander Georgiev, I want to hear from you guys in the chat here. I didn't have a massive problem with Alexander Georgiev here tonight. Was he perfect? No, definitely not. You want to see him maybe track that first one down a little bit better. He gets a little bit lost on it, doesn't seal the post up, and it ends up kind of being a little bit of an easy goal. Overall, again, Jared Bednar used the word a couple nights ago and said he battled. And I think that's what Alexander Georgiev is doing right now. Feels like he's battling. And this is where I'm coming back to. I'm not going to ever be someone who is saying these guys aren't trying or they don't care. Justus Annunen, I think, he's a little bit calmer in net. And he maybe can have the issue of being too slow at times. I think Alexander Georgiev is really fighting to find pucks, and he's battling in a way that maybe he wasn't at the start of the season when it seemed like things were beating him just easily. It feels like he's making teams work for it. You get a couple of those goals on the power play, especially that first one. You definitely don't put on him. I don't know. I thought he was, if not for Val Nichushkin scoring the Avs' only goals in the entire game, I actually thought Alexander Georgiev was probably going to be the player of the game. I thought he was really good. And then this is a game just 2 nights later. I think he comes right back and has another strong performance. Not perfect performance, but strong performance, especially right now with the way that Justus Annunen is playing. You need a goalie that you can feel confident in is going to at least give you a chance to win. That's what these guys weren't doing early in the season, was giving the Avs a chance to win. That's all that is being asked of them. Give the team a chance. Now, Justus Annunen likely going tomorrow with Georgiev going tonight. Jared Bednar told me earlier this week that he had a plan and a schedule in net because of the back-to-back. He said, if it wasn't for the back-to-back, we'd be rolling with whoever we thought gave us the best chance to win on any given night, but we got to do some planning for this week. And that tells you that they're planning on using both goaltenders. Maybe you take advantage of that. Maybe the thought process is Edmonton's also coming in on the second night of a back-to-back, so they might have some heavier legs. They're coming from altitude. Keep in mind here, Edmonton Oilers now playing tonight in Salt Lake City. Now another team with high elevation, so you don't necessarily get the altitude bump here. Edmonton's already been there for probably a day or two. But so maybe that's a thought process. Maybe some tired legs for the Oilers, and we can take advantage of that. You know, the fact that we'll be tired too. But you go to Annunen, presumably tomorrow. We're going to see. I think if that's the case, I mean, you're running out of runway here to keep continuing to give Annunen starts. We saw Jared Bednar was reluctant to give a guy like, a guy like Prosvetov starts last year when there was just maybe a lack of trust. And I'm starting to wonder, are we getting to that point here with Justus Annunen, where is Jared Bednar going to pull the plug and just say, I don't care if it's a back-to-back. I don't care if it's 5 games and 8 nights. I'm rolling with Georgie until we get a better option. We'll see. If it is Annunen in net tomorrow night, in my opinion, and this isn't anything groundbreaking, he needs to have a big night. It's got to be a good game for him. Let's see here. Just need health and goaltending to start breaking our way. First goal, he put a pinball-style rebound straight out into the slot. Like I said, wasn't perfect. There were some things that he could have done better. Yes, that first goal, big rebound. It's a great point. Big rebound off a Matt Duchene shot that Marchment picks up, makes a really high-end play on. But yes, you are correct. It was a bad rebound that went out into the middle of the ice. I couldn't help but think we could have won tonight if it weren't for net and kept pushing. We had momentum and only needed 1 goal. We also have one of the worst power plays that we aren't going to convert. So, look, there's definitely been a shift in coaching philosophy with moving up when these teams are pulling their goaltenders, which I do find interesting. But the one thing I've just never loved is pulling your goalie when you haven't won the faceoff yet. Wait till you have possession so that you can establish the zone and then pull them. Now, look, I'm not saying I know better than NHL coaches here, but that's just something that hasn't made sense to me ever, because I feel like you see it all the time where teams pull their goalie, lose a draw, and you hit a 200-foot shot, game's over. I've just always thought, put your goalie out at the top of the blue line, or top of the zone near the blue line. And if you win it clean, you establish the zone. Yeah, get him off right away. Get a fresh attacker out there. But alas, the Avs pull Georgiev a little bit early, give up the goal, and can't get one to go after that. End up losing 5-3. Let's get into your guys' questions, but I do want to remind you guys, our post-game Q&A here is brought to you by our friends over at Landmark Lincoln and the all-new 2024 Lincoln Corsair GT plug-in hybrid. Plug-in hybrids, they're the way to go. I'm telling you. Head on over to landmarklincoln.com. Check out the latest offers and incentives, including some incredible tax incentives on the all-new Corsair GT plug-in hybrids. Go to landmarklincoln.com or stop into the #1 Lincoln dealer in Colorado to see if you qualify for no payments for up to 90 days. Again, that's landmarklincoln.com, or stop in at the corner of Broadway and Bellevue today and see why they've been Colorado's trusted Lincoln dealer since 1911. Love our friends over there. Great people. Dealerships are normally a huge pain. Not over at Landmark. Let's get into some of your guys' questions here. We're going to pull them from Twitter, but also drop them in the chat if you guys have any. as we are going through here with what we've got. And there's a few more in here as I'm going through. So I'm going to sift through just a little bit. Seems like the Avs have been awful at 6-on-5 this year. They're routinely bad at faceoffs. Would they consider scrapping the goalie pull as a strategy? No, but I do think that this goes a little bit back to, a couple things. One, getting a guy like Val Nichushkin back. There's your net front guy back. Maybe earlier in the season, especially when Lehkonen was out, and Nichushkin was out. And then I guess you do count Gabe Landeskog. Those are like your three big net front guys that play within your top six and a lot on your top line. You get a guy like Val back. What I don't like is the fact that, you don't wait till you've got possession of the puck. You pull the goalie before you win a draw, and not even before you win a draw, but before you can get a chance to even win or lose a draw, get the puck, establish the zone, and just make sure that you feel good about where you're at with that possession. That's the part that I don't like about it. No, you would not abandon that strategy late in the game, but I do think maybe do you start to rethink when and how you pull that goaltender and being much more sure that you've got that possession time established. That would be maybe my preference. With guys like Nichushkin and Lehkonen coming back, why has the PK been so god-awful? I believe the Avs are 29th in the league. Special teams lost them this game, in my opinion. So, yes, these guys are coming back. Jared Bednar talked about it right before they came back, saying, these are positions that are penalty kill is highly coordinated effort. All four guys, all three guys, whichever it is, have to be very in sync. You got to make sure that when this guy moves, this guy's filling in. When this guy fills in, this guy cuts back behind. And even when you're adding positive pieces back into it, there's a lot of changes. Special teams go through ebbs and flows over the course of a season, maybe more than any other area of the game. There's going to be streaks where you play really well, going to be streaks where you really struggle. That goes for both power play and penalty kill. I do think the Avs are struggling right now on the kill, but you feel confident with the group that they've got, assuming you can stay a version of healthy. And again, we're going to see what happens here with Josh Manson. As long as you can stay healthy, as far as who your killers are, that's going to get better. It's going to continue to improve. You're going to settle in. You like who your personnel is there on the back end. If Manson can't play tomorrow, what do you think the D pairings look like? I think you stay, you probably go Cale Devon. So you probably go Cale Taves. You probably go Gerard Malinsky. Then you go Ludwig and DeHaan. Assuming Shillington also is not able to play, I think that's what you go with. And then again, we know Jared Bednar will like to mix those up over the course of a game, depending on minutes, where you're starting in the zone, or excuse me, which zone you're starting in on the ice. Things like that. But I think that's probably how you see him start. I just talked with Sam Malinsky earlier this week about, the fact that he's been really dynamic on that back end, being able to play with pretty much whoever he's paired with and being able to adapt his styles. So I think Jared Bednar would likely give him the nod moving up to play with a guy like Gerard. The Avs weren't able to secure the win tonight, but they were able to make a comeback in the third after being down 3. What do you think the Avs did well to make that possible, and what do you think they could have done better? I thought their details were sharp. I thought their details were sharp in the third period. I thought the legs were moving. They were making smart plays. They were making good reads, and they were aggressive. I just thought all of those things I just listed were what was lacking in their details in their game in the second period. I didn't think the details were sharp. I didn't think they were finishing checks. I thought the passing was a little bit sloppy. And I thought they corrected that in the third period. And so that's what they could have done different. They could have brought more elements of that part of their game earlier in to keep it to a 1 or 2 goal deficit so they weren't having to chase from so far behind in that third period. You had a really nice push. You were able to get 2 goals. And it just, had they been able to keep it to 3-1 heading into that third period, you would have felt much better about this is something that's fixable. 3 goals, you're able to cut that lead to 2. But again, Dallas has a say in this as well. They're able to clamp things down, really tighten up the game and say, all right, you got 2, but that's it. We're shutting the tap off. And I thought that was mainly what you saw happen here tonight. Paul, in answer to your question, who's questioned my thoughts, which I get it. I think you trust, Sam Malinski's puck skills and defensive reliability more than maybe a Ludwig or a DeHaan at baseline. But like I said, I just had a great conversation with Sam Malinski this week about being a defenseman that can play with anybody, play up and down those pairings. And he said it's something that's been a specific focus of his this season, is being someone who can be dynamic, play in any situation, and play with any D partner. So, yeah, and by the way, Sam Malinski's not as small of a guy as you would probably think. He's got some good size to him. But the reason I'm comfortable putting Sam Malinski with Sam Girard is because if you tell Sam Malinski, you've got to be the responsible guy tonight, be smart, move pucks up ice quick, make good decisions, he's going to do that. If you pair him with a guy like Josh Manson or John Ludwig or something like that, and you say, get up ice, use your legs, you be the offensive play driver, he can do that as well. That's why I'd put Sam Malinski with Sam Girard. And you can also just have the Sam line, and that makes it easier. More so than any game I can remember in a bit, I feel like our inability to win in the faceoff caused problems tonight. Would you agree? Look, I think faceoffs are situationally very important. Ivan, and Sam. See? It just makes it easier for us to remember your pairings. I think faceoffs are situationally very important, and at the same time can be situationally doesn't really matter. I think there were key faceoffs tonight that the Avs lost, whether it be special teams or late in the game, just when you needed possession. So, yes, the Avs are definitely missing a really quality faceoff guy. That was one thing they had in Nazem Kadri. That was one thing they tried to address by bringing in Ryan Johansson last year, and that went wrong for a number of reasons. But Casey Middlestat, he's fine in the circle. Still a young guy, still trying to figure that out. Nathan McKinnon, at his own admission, never been something that's been a strength of his. Gabe Landeskog was probably their best faceoff guy. Mikko Rantanen takes draws occasionally. Parker Kelly being made into a center. Ross Colton out of the lineup. So they just don't have a lot of faceoff guys right now. And so that's part of it. And again, yes, when you're keying in on certain draws, I absolutely agree. It can have an impact on the game when you're talking about certain draws in particular. Thoughts on the Avs struggle to score the first goal? You guys have heard me probably talk. You guys are probably sick of hearing me talk about the Avs starts and how they need to be better and how the Avs need to find a way to generate more offense, more energy, and ultimately more goals early in games and get on the board first and stop chasing the game the entire game. That will make a big difference in, and not only being in the lead, but in the way that you can play. If you guys, followed the show during the playoffs, you guys heard me talk about the way the Dallas Stars like to play and how their style of play lends to playing with the lead. And when teams like Dallas can play from in front, they can really kind of play the way that they want to play and implement their style and slow things down if they want. When you force them to have to chase, like the Avs were able to at certain times in that series, they have to break their structure and they're not as detail-oriented as they want to be. Same thing goes for everybody, including the Colorado Avalanche. When you can play with the lead, you can dictate the pace of the game for the most part and make life easier for yourself. So it all goes back to them needing some better starts here. And I think you get some better starts, you generate more offense, you play with the puck on your stick more early, you're going to end up with more goals. So it all goes hand in hand. Last one here. Stars put blueprint out in the playoffs last year of how to stop/slow down the Avs power play. Be ultra aggressive on the boards and pressure. Does not seem like the Avs have adjusted. Why have there been no adjustments? So, it is interesting because you'll see certain teams do it. And this was actually a thing that I thought was it was something that a lot of teams did in the East a few seasons ago. Not just against the Avs, but when you watch their penalty kills in general. Really aggressive along the perimeters. Any puck that could possibly be contested, they contested it. And yeah, when you have a team like the Avs who has players that can snap the puck around the perimeter, and if you give them a chance to move it around and find open shots, they can absolutely burn you. So I can see why there would be a little bit of an emphasis to get out on those pucks, contest them, don't let them snap the puck around at will. Of course, it's a cat and mouse game because there's the flip side of it where you could very easily one pass gets chipped by and there's big lanes open through the middle. So a team like Dallas does it to the Avs, trying to limit the freewheeling that they can do around the outside. And it works at times. But again, even in that playoff series, Dallas did do that. But the Avs were able to find a lot of success at times on the power play, because when you're playing aggressive like that, you do two things. Well, you do three things. One, you put good pressure around the perimeter and you take away the opportunities of Mikko Rantanen, Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar to sit there and really establish themselves and find the right shooting lane. So that's one thing that you can do that the Stars do effectively. And it's what we're talking about here when we say, they put out a blueprint on how to slow down this Avs power play. Yes, attack the perimeters. The Avs like that little drop pass just inside the blue line. So yes, if you can disrupt that pass, keep them from getting the zone established, and then create chaos around the outside, that's the goal of that power play. But the two negatives of that are, one, you run the risk of, like we were saying a minute ago, finding yourself out of position, pressing maybe a little bit too hard, and a guy like Cale Makar is able to get a quick little touch pass off, and suddenly you're out of position and you got lanes in the middle. So that's one area that can affect you negatively. The other is, if the team is able to just keep the puck alive, their retrievals are good, they're getting shots to the net, finding rebounds, and still able to move that puck around, it's a lot more skating and a lot more moving than maybe you'd have on a more wider spread out box power play, but one where you're not necessarily challenging every single puck around the perimeter. And you can find yourself in a situation where suddenly you get caught out there 60, 90 seconds on a penalty kill, and you're just dogging it. So there's pros and cons to it, but the Dallas Stars have pulled it off effectively against the Avs going back to last year's playoffs. No doubt about it. I think that's going to do it, guys. Like I said, we're going to be right back at it tomorrow night. I think I'll let Megan answer some of your guys' questions. It's been a little bit since we've been able to hear from her. I was on the road, and she was out of town while we were back here. So very much looking forward to having Megan back at the game with me tomorrow. Thank you guys all so much for hanging out. Almost 1,500 of you guys hanging out with me here 10:45. I hope you guys all had a great Thanksgiving. I know my wife and I had a great time yesterday hanging out with my parents, my family. Had some great food. I was painfully full last night. She had to roll me in the door when we got home. So overall, a good day. Looking forward to a nice weekend here. Like I said, we got some hockey tomorrow night, which should be fun. We'll be able to enjoy the holiday day. And then we got Sunday, you got some football going, and just another nice day to relax. So looking forward to a fun little weekend here. And the Avs are right back on the road next week, which means we are right back at it, bringing you guys all kinds of great content. Thank you guys again all so much. Thank you to our couple super chats from earlier in the show. Really appreciate you guys. We will be back tomorrow night, back with a pod on Monday. After that, at a regularly scheduled time. Thanks again to our partners over at Trusted American Mortgage and Landmark Lincoln. I'm Jesse Montano. Thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow.